Hi, I'm Sarah Fox. I'm an editor and writing coach at the Bookish Box. I'm now with one of my editor slash marketing heroes, Shayla Eaton. She's amazing. I want to be her when I grow up. Just so you know, she's super talented. She's super amazing. She's writing her own book called The Suicide Tree, correct?
Yeah.
And I'm going to let her introduce herself because there's so much she does that I know she could say it better than I can. But I'm going to let her go tell you about herself because she's here to help you with publishing and editing and marketing all the book things.
Well, thanks, Sarah. I really appreciate you having me here. Like I said, my name's Shayla Raquel, and sometimes you'll see Shayla Eaton pop up here and there because I used to go by that name and then I rebranded. So you'll see that every now and then pop up, usually accidentally because I'll be signing an email and put the wrong name on there. So I'm an editor and writer and marketer, and I also do some speaking and book blogging. Primarily, I work with self-published authors, although I do have experience with traditionally published authors as well. But my expertise lies in giving a lot of hand-holding to indie authors and helping them along the process with their new book. I have edited over 300 books, and I have worked for Penguin Random House, Thomas Nelson, and Dayspring. Dayspring does a lot of devotionals and self-help books. So I love my job. It's very, very fun. I also do a lot of blogging and book blogging and basically anything that has anything to do with books. I'm probably going to have my hand in it in some way.
That's amazing. Okay, so I'm going to kick it off straight off the bat is a lot of people come to me and they're wondering like what should they expect to invest in a book, and they often have like a lot of blocks around investing. So what are your thoughts on that?
So since we're talking about self-publishing your book, there are two ways you can do it. You can either do it the right way or the wrong way. And the right way is investing in professionals to help you bring your book to life and to actually help you sell it. The other way, when we're looking at the wrong way, is skipping the editor or having your mom edit it, creating a book cover in, I don't know, paint. Microsoft Paint. I don't know. I've seen that before. And, skipping formatting because you don't know how to do that. And then plopping it on Amazon and sitting around and wondering why on earth is nobody buying my book that I spent 10 minutes working on. So there is definitely an investment with self-publishing your book the right way. And this is for people, look, I'm talking to the authors who are serious about this. They want to publish more than one book, maybe a few a year, actually, maybe like 2, 3, 4 a year. And they want to do this for the rest of their lives. That's who I'm talking to. The people who want to invest in their book need to be prepared for the 3 big ones. And there's other things to invest in. But one is editing. No, it is not cheap unless you want to work with somebody who has no idea what they're doing and will result in some very unpleasant Amazon and Goodreads reviews. Or, and then design. So designing your cover professionally. Don't do it yourself. Never ever do it yourself. Well, I had some graphic design. No, don't do it yourself. Well, my nephew's been playing around with Photoshop. Don't do it. Let a professional handle it, because everybody thinks about, oh, the cover has to be really appealing. It's more than that. There is psychology behind the book cover and the genre itself. Your book cover is a marketing tool. And then 3 on your list of things to prepare to invest in is marketing. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you go out and hire a marketer, although some people hire me. It can mean Facebook ads, Amazon ads. Do you want to pay some book bloggers who have several thousand reviews to put your picture of your book on their Instagram? Think about your marketing budget. No, radio and newspaper is not on your budget. We're talking about online marketing. So those are the 3 things to prepare to invest in as a self-published author. There are other things. You got to buy an ISBN. You've got to prepare for formatting. There are other things as well. But in order to create a really top-notch, amazing book that sets the standard for how your other books will be, you need to start out right and hire professionals.
And can you walk us through what the range people should expect to pay for each service?
Everything is different, and it always depends. And that's so annoying because a lot of authors just tell me, and I get so many different pricing, So if you're looking at, let's say that I'm going to edit a thriller, okay? And let's say the thriller is 80,000 words, and you send it to me, and I say, well, I want to check it first because I want to make sure that I understand what type of editing you need. By the way, there's lots of different types of editing. So I'll take a look at it, or just like Sarah, would she take a look at it, and she would determine, or I would determine, what kind of editing you need. Let's say that you've killed it. Like, you've sent it to beta readers. You've done tons of rewrites. You have worked so hard in this book. I might look at it and think, wow, I think that this author only needs copy editing and a final proofread. So then what I would probably do, and which is, I'm kind of talking about ballpark here, would probably be around 4 to 5 cents a word. And then proofreading can be around 1 to 2 cents per word for proofreading. Now, that is not the end-all be-all. There are a million and one different exceptions to that rule, but that does at least give you a ballpark for professional editors. I'm not talking about people who have no idea what they're doing. As far as design, it just depends on how long has the designer been around. Are they familiar with whatever publishing platform you're going to use? CreateSpace, Amazon, KDP, Barnes & Noble. Are they familiar with those? And then, what specifically, I mean, you can look at their portfolio, but I mean, you might kind of budget around $800. It could be less, it could be more. I mean, I've seen them go up to $1,500. It just depends on so many different things. So be prepared to, the best thing you can do is you start talking to editors and designers yesterday. You start talking to them immediately, because you can get their pricing and you can start figuring out what that budget's going to be. That's the best place to start.
And can you discuss the different types of editing? I accidentally said one of them, but can you walk them through it?
Sure. I actually have a blog post on it that I can drop in a link somewhere for your viewers, but developmental editing is kind of the big first thing that authors might have to start with, and that's if, they didn't use beta readers, they didn't have it critiqued, they didn't start with an outline, maybe they aren't like super awesome on a lot of storytelling elements that they need help with. So developmental editing is the big picture. We're looking at global edits. What is the theme? What is the message? How is the focus? Do you have a good tone? Is the delivery coming out well? Do we need to restructure things? Add content, delete? It is very, very, very in-depth. And so when an editor is doing a developmental edit, you'll be working with them for several months usually, because it's quite a lot of work. Underneath that is content editing. And I like content editing. It's not as in-depth as developmental, because I've seen, okay, they've followed an outline, perhaps they've done some beta readers, or they've done some critique groups. They have tried to do better, but man, he's got to cut that fat. He's very, very verbose, so that content edit will be working on some of those weaknesses to clear out, cutting the fat, all those things. And I'll also, when I do content edits, I also focus on grammar, spelling, and punctuation, and I usually finalize with a proofread. That's just my way of doing things. Copy editing, that's going to be level 3, so that's grammar, spelling, style, punctuation, all of those really boring things that you slept through during school, most authors, I guess. So all of those things that us grammarians love so much. And then you'll finalize number 4 is proofreading. So proofreading, I prefer doing proofreading when the manuscript has been typeset, it's gone through interior formatting. And so I'll have a PDF, and then I'll go through and I'll look for any typos, any weird spacing issues, anything that might have been missed. You cannot do proofreading without the copy editing. So hopefully that kind of gives you a good idea of the different stages of editing.
Yeah, that's awesome, because so many people ask me, and I have my way of describing it, but it's always good to get different perspectives.
Some people might say line editing instead of in place of copy editing. Some people might call developmental editing substantive editing. I mean, it just depends. So there's a lot of different things out there, but at least make sure your editor knows.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I've also heard content and developmental used, or they combine the two different processes. It's just so interesting. I love the different perspectives out there.
Yes. There are a lot of different opinions on the different types of editing.
Yes, it's controversial in the editing world. We have our weird controversies, like the Oxford comma. I'm pro Oxford comma. I'm pro. I don't know where you fall on that.
Very pro. Religiously pro, if that's a thing.
And I don't accept the singular they as the as the gender neutral. I can't do it.
I haven't done it either, and I won't. I mean, I'll let them stumble over he or she before I do they for one person. So, and that's very controversial too, but that's just something that it doesn't actually make any sense. You can't have they when there's one person. So I don't know why that's confusing, but yes, we are on the same mindset with that.
Okay, now moving back to the promotion stage, like what would you recommend authors think about when they're promoting their book? Like what can they start to focus on? When should they think about it?
Okay, so when you're marketing your book, I cannot tell you how many like posts I'll see on Facebook, and I've taken screenshots of them before because they're so funny to me. And they'll say, "I published my book. How do I market it?" And I'm like, there's some confusion here on how marketing works. So if we're talking about marketing, and nobody's gonna like this answer, and everybody's gonna get mad at me, and that's fine. But if you, especially if you're nonfiction, I'm really talking to nonfiction guys here. If you're doing nonfiction, then you need to be thinking about marketing and promoting your book a year to 3 years ahead of time. And I'm not just saying your book, I'm talking about your author brand. Maybe your book won't come out until way later, but I'm talking about getting the website going and blogging or vlogging or your podcast or email newsletter, all of those things. I can't, even as a marketer, like help you do all of that overnight. It doesn't work that way. You need to be working on your author brand for a long time if you want to have a really amazing book launch. And now when we look at the book launch, especially if I am in charge of, like, I'm orchestrating the book launch, which I offer, or if I'm creating a marketing plan, whatever it may be, I like to start 3 months in advance. For example, I'm working for an author, she's fantasy and YA, her name's Heather. And Heather, we started together in mid-December. Her book release date isn't until March 23rd. So we've got, 3 months, a little bit over 3 months for me to be training her and coaching her on building the book launch team, getting those emails out. I've been pitching to book bloggers. I have a post on that as well. It's a wonderful way for you to get more people to see your book. All of those things take place. So as far as, when do I do all this? Now you do it all just as soon as you can. And that's for the authors who don't have a website, they've never done anything, don't have an email newsletter. You need to get that going now. Well, but my book doesn't come out until December. It doesn't matter. You have to have a platform, community, tribe, whatever word you're most comfortable with, that's fine. But that's what I suggest. And for the authors who do come to me and they say, look, I'm freaking out, my book is releasing in 2 months and I'm just now getting the website, I'm just now getting all this. Of course, my first suggestion is move your date out, right? But a lot of times they don't want to do that. So I'll say, hey, if you've got no website and you don't have a whole lot of anything and you're working on building it, keep doing that, but go pitch to book bloggers. Go ask them to read and review your book to their audience.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my best recommendation.
Awesome. Also, another favorite topic of ours is, what are your thoughts on the world of vanity publishing?
Unfortunately, I don't have all day to rant and rave about how much I despise vanity publishing, so I'll do my best to condense it. So for those of you who are not familiar, vanity publishing has many different names, actually. A lot of people want to give the same thing a different name. But vanity publishing is when an author pays a publisher somewhere, well into the thousands, usually average is $4,000. They'll pay the publisher to publish the book and do all the self-publishing stuff that they could have done on their own. And a lot of authors will counter it and they'll say, yeah, but this company took care of it for me and I didn't have to go hire an editor and I didn't have to go hunt down a designer and I didn't have to go do any of those stuff. They did all that for me. Yeah, and let's retrack a little bit, because the editors that they hired are working overseas 9 times out of 10. Mm-hmm. They're getting paid about 60 cents an hour. That's pretty typical. I'm sure it has gone up. It can be much more than that, but I know of vanity publishers who are paying their editors 60 cents an hour to edit your book. And of course, when you get it back, it's riddled with errors, and you're thinking, how could this have happened to me? I Googled this vanity publisher and I saw all these terrible reviews and I ignored them. I don't know why my book is riddled with errors. Then you'll get your cover, and your cover will be pretty disastrous. And then you will be told, we're going to market your book for you. And what they mean by that is that they're not going to market their book for you, your book. They're not going to do that at all. They will give you a little ebook sometimes. They might do a press release, which in no way helps you. They might do this or that. And then what will happen is when you finally get smart and you decide, I've got to get their name off my book, you're going to run into a hassle. Getting your production files back is going to be very, very difficult. Sometimes I've actually had to fight for authors to get those files back. You will have to pay a fee. You will have to pay a fee to get them back. Do you really think the Vanity Pub is going to let you have something for free? No way. So it's a huge, huge fight. A few times a month, I will get emails, messages, complaints, and they'll come to me because they, see my videos or they've read my posts on Vanity Pub, and they'll say, I don't know what to do. Here's the publisher. What do I do? They're not XYZ. They haven't sent me my books. They haven't marketed my book. It's riddled with errors. Obviously, the best thing to do is to create a time machine and go back in time and not do it. But since you can't do that yet, I'm still holding out. I know it's going to happen one day. But since you can't do that, you'll want to just get out of that contract immediately. And it's gonna stink, and it's not going to be fun, and you're going to be frustrated. But get out of it, and you get to be the publisher. You get to do all the stuff that they said they were going to do for you that they totally messed up. You are in charge of hiring the editor, the designer, the formatter, whatever it may be. You have your name as the publisher on that. And for me, that's the best thing you can do. I do not at all recommend Vanity Pub in any way, shape, or form. And so if you have any questions about Vanity Pub at all, just be sure to message me. I honestly, and I'm very clear about this, I don't charge you money to go look at the publisher you said to me, whatever it may be, and go check them out for you. I will do that for free. I do not charge. You can message me or email me and say, look, I don't know. They feel kind of shady to me. Can you tell me if this is a Vanity publisher? And I'll find out for you.
It's true. I've gone to her a bunch of times and been like, hey, a friend of mine's considering going to this publisher. Are they legit? And 9 times out of 10, if not every time, I think it's been every time, you're like, it's not legit. It's not legit.
Was it you? I won't say who the company was, but wasn't it you who messaged? Maybe it was you or somebody else messaged me the other day about a certain company. You're like, do you know so-and-so? And I was like, yes. I don't know. Was it you that messaged
me? I was the one. I was like, and you're like, oh, yes. I'll run away. I was like, thank you. I love you.
Yes. So if you ever need help with that, please be sure to message me. That is one thing that I definitely don't charge to do.
It's so sad. I have a friend of a friend that shows you who spent $25,000 on a Vanity publisher and didn't get, it was horribly edited. The cover was ugly. They didn't market it for her. She still had to pay for her copies of the book.
Oh, yeah.
And she doesn't own her copyright at all, of course.
They own that ISBN, not her. And it is so awful. And yes, there are so many horror stories out there. But you know what? And this is going to get me in trouble, and that's fine. I'll deal with it on my own. But as an author, it takes 10 seconds to Google the name of the company you're interested in. 10 seconds. And you cannot tell me that you don't see all the horrible reviews on Writers Beware or on my site or anybody for that matter. There's no way that you miss those. And what will happen is the author will, oh, I don't know, that sounds like a bad review. And they'll already be in contact over here with the Vanity publisher 9 times out of 10. And that publisher will say, those are just disgruntled employees. Those are authors who, this is my favorite one, those are authors who didn't have what it takes like you do, and they're mad. The best thing you can do is self-publish on your own and stay away from them.
So I've had a lot of people run into this. What's the difference between self-publishing, hiring an editor like you or myself, or hiring their own cover designer, hiring a formatter? What would be the difference between doing that versus going with a vanity press? Because I've had people really confused about the difference.
It's really pretty simple, to be honest. So like I said, if you are going to go with a vanity publisher, they're going to own the rights to that copyright. They're going to have the ISBN. Now, a lot of times they'll say, we don't own the rights to your book. That's your book. But if you want to get the production files to put it under a different publishing name, you're going to have to pay a fee and do all these things, right? When you self-publish, it gets to be Shayla Raquel Publishing, or my company name, Curious or Editing LLC. That is the publisher. Me. My company, my entity, me. Not XYZ Vanity Pub. I own the ISBN, and I assign it to my book, not that other company. I own all the production files, not them. Oh, by the way, I get to watch my budget, actually. Even though self-pub is expensive, Vanity Pub is going to kill you on those fees, because they'll start out with something that's like $4,000, $6,000, and then they tack on all this other extra stuff, and they're hard salesmen. So they'll really pressure you to buy a lot of other things, like extended marketing package and all this stuff. So you're going to lose a ton of money on that. Finally, if you're doing it on your own, which, you know, that company has nothing to do with it, then you're in charge of the marketing anyway, because you're going to be in charge of it if that publisher does it, because they're not going to do any marketing. So you get to be in charge of paying attention to how are people finding my book, and what are they saying about me, and how many reviews do I have, and where do they come from, because that's a whole other conversation. So you need to be in charge of doing it on your own. Self-pub and Vanity Pub are two very different things.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. You're saving people. Also, there's certain like major publishers who are associated with Vanity publishers, so be careful of that too.
And print. So, like even Penguin Random House has, or I think Penguin Random House used to own Author Solutions, and then somebody else took over Author Solutions. Basically, what happened is you had a lot of these traditional publishers from the Big Five, even, who were like, "Wow, we're missing out on a lot of money when we turn these people down. Let's send them over to our imprint." And then my favorite part is that the authors would be like, "I'm published with Penguin Random House. I only had to pay them $15,000. And I'm like, "No, you're published under one of their imprints that you paid them to publish. That is not the same thing." So do research on that and make sure that, you know, I mean, don't do it anyway, but you can actually find out a lot of times that certain Vanity publishers are owned by some of the Big Five.
That's fascinating. It is. I always find that really interesting.
Your ground thing.
People get tripped up on that really a lot. Like there's one in particular, which I'm not going to name here, but that people are consistently saying, I'll tell you off the call, if they keep saying it, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So if anyone has a question about it, go to Shayla. She's amazing. She's helped me. Because she's really on the know with the stuff. So, and also Google. Google's your friend. A quick search will save you thousands of dollars.
Yes, absolutely.
And do you have any tips for writers in general for publishing, self-publishing? How do they determine traditional versus self?
There's an outstanding, it's actually pinned up on my wall over there. There's an outstanding PDF by the amazing Jane Friedman. And if you are a writer and you don't know who that is, pause this video and go subscribe to her website. She is a publishing powerhouse and my heroine, and I love her.
She's amazing.
So she has this thing, and you can Google it. You can say Jane Friedman Key Paths to Publishing, or I'll drop the link somehow for you. I actually have it printed because when she spoke at one of the writers' retreats I was at, she passed them out. But it's a link, and it will actually break down Big Five versus mid to large size publishers, and then it goes into small press, and then hybrid Vanity or something hybrid, and then like self-pub. So she does it better than I ever could. Very succinctly explains the differences between all of them. That's the best place that you can start. But as a writer, if you're trying to figure out, and I'm just going to talk about the two main ones, should I pitch to agents to traditionally publish, or should I self-publish my book? One, and I have posts on this, but one, are you a control freak? If you are a control freak like me, traditionally publishing your book is going to be very difficult for you. You don't really get to decide who your editor is and designer and all those things. That's decided for you. Whereas with self-pub, you are in charge of all of that. I've even had a good author friend of mine. She hired an illustrator and he did a bunch of illustrations, and I love them. But she thought, this isn't me. Like, this isn't my book at all. This isn't what I wanted. And so she said goodbye, and she decided to use a different illustrator. That's her prerogative. She can do whatever she wants. It's her book. She owns the rights to that book. Two, if you have a good budget, self-pub is great. If you are like, I have no money at all whatsoever, then you might want to try pitching to agents. Because obviously you're not going to be paying anything. And no, you don't pay literary agents. By the way, quick little tidbit there. You should not be paying an agent to pitch your book. That is not how that works.
Right away.
And so as far as anything else to consider, why? If you want to traditionally publish and you're all about it, that's fine, but why? Because a lot of times the answers I'll get is, notoriety and validation. I'm a real author when I've traditionally published. Well, that's funny because I think I can rattle off a few authors who self-published and they just happen to be real authors too. And so that's a really, really annoying thing that I run into. And I think it's gotten a lot better. But make sure that you are pitching for the right reasons and that you understand what all is a part of pitching. You have 18 to 24 months once you get the yes from the publisher before you will see your book. So that does not include pitching. So make sure that if you're on a time limit, self-pub is better for you. But if you don't care and you're like, oh, I've got all the time in the world, then traditionally publishing would be good for you.
That's awesome. That's true. Like how you did it with Dust. There's so many self-published authors who make waves. It's awesome.
Yeah, and if they're not, Lisa Geneva, she's self-published, and she's got, publishing deal and movie. Andy Ware from The Martian.
That's true.
Self-published. E.E. Cummings self-published a book.
Really? I did not know that. They did not cover that in my modern poetry class.
He self-published because all the top publishers would not take they wouldn't accept him. So he self-published it. It was called No Thanks. And within it, he formatted the names of the publishers who rejected him in the shape of an urn and said no thanks to, and then he named the publishers. So I love that. But there's tons of them. The Joy of Cooking was self-pub. There's tons of them that were self-published. Mark Dawson is a self-published author. He brings in about $450,000 a year as an indie author, which is how does he do that? Well, go to his website because he has courses, he has free stuff that you can watch. It's incredibly helpful. He is one of the true self-pub authors who really tries to help people. So definitely make sure that you are doing things for the right reason, and that if you have any qualms about self-pub, maybe do some research and find out, looks like a lot more self-pub authors than I ever could have imagined have done a really excellent job.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time and expertise. Where can people find you?
So you can go to ShaylaRaquel.com, or you can Google my name, and if you misspell it, Google will fix it for you.
Amazing.
Google will fix it for you. You can also find me on Facebook under Shayla Raquel. Twitter is Shayla Lee Raquel because Shayla Raquel was already taken. And the same thing for Instagram, Shayla Lee Raquel. You can kind of find me everywhere, really. Goodreads, all those fun stuff. But the best place to start is my website because you can get the pre-publishing checklist for free. And it is a very helpful resource for new authors who have no idea how to self-publish. And it's sent to your email in Kindle, PDF, and iBooks form. So that's very, very helpful, and I would start in those places.
That's awesome. And Shayla's list is amazing, so get on it. And thanks again for helping everyone out. And no one go to Vanity Publishers is the real takeaway from all of this.
Oh, yes. And you can type in Vanity Publishers on my website, and I have a video and really long explanation of what to watch out for as well. But thank you so much, Sarah, for letting me talk a little bit and rant and rave. And I hope that I've been a little bit helpful to your audience.
Definitely. Thank you again.
Thank you.